Right there in the second verse of the Bible, there's one of its greatest and maybe most misunderstood mysteries, a world described as unformed and void. Today, we're going to peel back the layers on that single phrase. And what we're going to find is a whole cosmic drama. We're talking system crashes, divine glitches, and a universe that was deliberately built from the fragments of a primordial catastrophe.
I want you to just try and picture this for a second. We're floating in this deep, primordial dimness. And there isn't one Earth, there are two, kind of layered on top of each other. The one on top, this celestial Earth, it's flickering. Its brilliant light is actually pulling back, contracting. And this creates a state of pure, undefined potential, a kind of structural instability. That is Tohu. And then that instability gets transmitted down to the layer below. The lower, brand new Earth inherits this chaos, and it just swirls into this mess of mist and darkness and raw, unprocessed elements. That is Vohu. Now, the first thought that probably jumps into your head is, okay, that sounds bad. That sounds like a problem that needs to be fixed. But what if that's completely wrong? What if this chaos, this Tohu Vavohu, wasn't some cosmic flaw? What if it was actually a foundational feature, a totally deliberate and absolutely essential first step in a divine engineering project that is just beyond our imagination?
So, to really get this, we're going to go on a journey. First, we'll look at this idea of a world unformed and void. Then we'll reveal the secret of the two Earths. We'll witness the great contraction that started it all, and then we'll decode what Tohu and Vohu really are. After that, we'll look at it like a cosmic glitch and system reboot, and finally, we'll see how perfect order actually emerges from all that primordial chaos.
We're going to tackle this using a fantastic 4-level method of interpretation called Pardes. And we're starting at level 1. Shot. That's the simple, literal meaning. And on this level, it's pretty straightforward. The verse is just talking about the physical planet Earth before God really got to work. A desolate, empty, water-covered rock, just waiting for some light and life. But right away, the Zohar, the foundational text of Kabbalah, just comes along and throws a massive wrench in the works. It asks this completely radical question. Are we really sure this verse is about a physical planet? What if the Earth isn't a place, but a spiritual reality, a whole cosmic plan of existence? And that question right there, well, that's our doorway into the real mystery. And that question leads us directly to level 2, Remez, the allegorical hint. And here it is, the foundational secret that the Zohar drops on us. The verse isn't talking about one Earth, not at all. It's describing two completely distinct spiritual realities, an upper Earth and a lower Earth, that are locked together in this direct, hierarchical relationship. So what's the difference? The easiest way to think about it is like a main server and a client computer. The upper Earth is the source. It's the higher plane that's transmitting all the divine influence. And the lower Earth? It's the receiver. It's this developing reflection that's just designed to manifest whatever state gets passed down to it. They are totally, fundamentally connected. And of course, the Kabbalistic language for this is incredibly precise. The upper Earth is called Malchut del Elaha, literally the kingdom of the heights. Its whole job is to transmit or conceal the divine light. The lower Earth is Malchut Ditata, the kingdom of the depths, and its job is just to manifest whatever it gets from above. The Zohar is super clear that the chaos started in that upper Earth, which then cascaded down and affected the lower Earth. So let's keep climbing to the next layer, the interpretive level, and see how this all connects. Because this whole thing raises a huge question, right? Why would a perfect, infinite creator kick off creation with an unstable, chaotic mess? The answer is one of the most mind-bending concepts in all of Kabbalah, the doctrine of Tzimtzum. Tzimtzum literally means contraction, but, and this is so important, it's not a retreat. It's a deliberate act of divine self-limitation. See, before anything was created, the infinite light, the Or Ein Sof, filled everything. There was no outside. So to create something finite, something other than itself, the infinite first had to pull back, to make a kind of conceptual space for worlds to even exist. The mystical text, Etz Chaim, the Tree of Life, walks us through this cosmic process. First, the infinite light contracts, leaving this sort of vacant space. Then, a single, perfectly measured line of that light, called the Kav, is extended back into that space. This is absolutely key. Creation doesn't get flooded with infinite energy. It receives a carefully measured, finite little stream. And this act alone creates the very first framework for reality,
the concepts of up and down, cause and effect.
Okay, so here's the crucial point, the main takeaway from all this. The chaos of Tohu Vavohu is not some random accident or some pre-existing evil force. No, it is a direct and completely necessary consequence of the Tzimtzum. By the very act of limiting the infinite light to make room for finite worlds, a potential for instability was deliberately engineered into the very fabric of existence.
And with that, we have finally arrived at the deepest level, Sod, the mystical secret. Now we're going to look at the precise mechanics of what happened inside that chaotic state, a cosmic event known in Kabbalah as Shivrat HaKelim, or the shattering of the vessels. So that line of light, the Kalev, it began to flow into a series of 10 spiritual vessels, or sephirot, that were designed to contain and structure it. But here's the problem. These first vessels, they were too rigid, too immature. They just couldn't handle the sheer intensity of the light flowing into them. And the result was a catastrophic system failure. The vessels shattered into pieces. And this is just a brilliant way to understand the two parts of the chaos. Tohu, which comes from a root word meaning to be astonished, that represents the state of unstructured potential. It's the system instability right before the crash. And Vohu, which the sages point out contains the hint there is substance in it, Bohu, represents the fragmented aftermath, the shattered pieces, all the unprocessed data. And both of these states are totally dominated by the force of din, which is severe judgment and restriction, a force that makes things rigid and ultimately causes them to break. Now, when the vessels shattered, the divine light inside them didn't just disappear, it fell. According to the mystics, exactly 288 sparks of holy light got trapped, encased within the broken shards of the vessels. And they see a hint of this right there in the Genesis verse. The phrase, the Spirit of God hovered, uses the Hebrew word merakafet. Mystically, they break this word down and find the letters for both death, mem tet, and the number 288, refek, alluding to these trapped sparks, just hovering in the abyss. So really, this whole cosmic drama can be seen as a process of balancing two fundamental forces. The first attempt at creation, the world of Tohu, was completely dominated by din, by judgment. It was all structure, all boundaries, and no flow. And that's why it collapsed. The entire goal of all subsequent creation, this process we call tikkun or rectification, is to rebuild the universe by balancing that strict force of din with the expansive flowing force of rachamim or mercy. I know, this can feel incredibly abstract. But what's so amazing about these ancient ideas is how perfectly they click into place when we look at them through a modern lens. So let's just translate this cosmic drama into the language of today's tech. For all the gamers out there, think of a massive online video game. The Tzimtzum is like the game developers deliberately throttling the server's power to create a new separate zone. Tohu is the immediate result. The game engine totally glitches out, the world's physics code becomes unstable, and Vohu? That's what you, the player, would actually see. Textures corrupt into just meaningless noise, character models shatter into a million polygons, and the whole world becomes this unplayable mess of fragmented data. The process of tikkun, rectification, is basically the devs rebooting the server and deploying a massive patch to rebuild the entire world from that broken code. Or for a more, let's say, professional analogy, think of cosmic engineering. Tzimtzum is an intentional reduction in system bandwidth to partition off a new processing environment. Tohu is the resulting architectural instability. The system's blueprint fails. And Vohu is the consequence. The initial data packets sent to this new environment become fragmented, corrupted, and totally unprocessed. And tikkun? Well, that's the deployment of a new, much more robust protocol, which Kabbalah identifies as the Torah itself, designed specifically to parse, reorganize, and integrate all that fragmented data into a stable, functioning system. Okay, so let's bring all these layers together. Let's synthesize this and really get to the heart of the purpose behind this initial state of chaos. Why bother with a system crash and a reboot in the first place? And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. The shattering, the chaos, the concealment of light, none of it was a mistake. It was the necessary raw material. You see, a world created in a perfect, unbroken state would be static, finished. But by starting with a broken world, a world of hidden sparks trapped in shards of vessels, creation itself becomes a dynamic process. It creates a reality that has struggle, that has free will, and that has the potential for profound transformation and repair. A process we call tikkun olam.
And what is truly, truly mind-blowing is that we are partners in this whole thing. The Harkanati commentary on the Zohar makes it crystal clear. The state of our lower world directly impacts the upper world. When we perform acts of goodness and kindness and justice, when we study and try to connect, we are not just improving our physical world. We are, in a very real, tangible sense, reaching into that primordial chaos, finding a fallen spark of divine light, and raising it back up, literally helping to rectify and stabilize the entire cosmic architecture. So, in the end, the deepest secret of Tohu Vavohu is this. A perfect static system has absolutely no room for growth. But a system that begins with a glitch, with a fundamental instability, well, that becomes the engine for a dynamic, ongoing, and collaborative creation. Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.